Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is a Dacia Jogger. But keen viewers of this channel might be thinking, Harry, isn't your Jogger white? And you'd be correct. This is the Hybrid Jogger. And as a Dacia Jogger owner, I'm now going to tell you if the hybrid model is worth it over the standard one. Okay, I'm actually shooting without any helpers today, so we're going to have to do this POV style, everyone's favourite, I know. Obviously, we've covered the Jogger before, and there aren't a huge number of differences internally or externally. It's mostly driveline, but let's go over them. So first up, the Dacia range has been facelifted. There is a new logo, so this is now the front grille for the Jogger. This is the same for both cars though. This is not specific to the hybrid, and you still got that great bonnet with the bulges in it, very purposeful looking. There's nice chunky fog lights, lots and lots of off-road styling. You've got this brush guard down here at the bottom as well, and then round the side, similar again, you've got these big black wheel arch liner things here to make it look off-roady. You've got this kind of lower brush guard black plastic and this side sticker that helps break up the profile of the car, which is very handy because it is quite tall and potentially awkward if they'd got this wrong. Same wheels, so you've got the steel wheels hidden behind these covers, but they've actually done it quite well, so you can't tell it's got steel wheels. Still 16 inches, and you've still got these modular roof bars, which are excellent. Fuel filler here on the side, and then round the back, you still have the lights from a Volvo. You also get, here's a tiny difference. You do get a hybrid badge down here, but it's still these stickers, just like on the other model. It's not like a full-on badge, but you get the new Dacia logo here. You also, I must say, you now can get the Dacia Jogger in this excellent green colour, and I would say it's worth every single penny to take that option. When I bought mine, none of the colours were inspiring me, but this is excellent. Let's take a look in the boot though, shall we? Now, those of a practical mindset will be delighted to hear that adding a hybrid powertrain to the Jogger has not really affected boot space in any way at all. With all 7 seats in place, which I shall demonstrate now, you still get just over 200 litres of boot space, which is about the same as a city car like a Hyundai i10. Enough for a couple of bags of shopping or everyone's jackets, that sort of thing. With these seats down though, which I shall do now, they fold away and then you pull this tab and it flips them up. You get nearly 600 litres of space, and of course you can then remove these, which takes but a moment. There's just 2 tabs there, and then you can fully pop it out of the car. Very handy indeed. With all the seats folded down, you'll have over 2,000 litres of luggage space and up to 2 metres of load length, which is basically a van. All of that, of course, is the same as the standard Jogger, and the seating arrangement in the back is pretty much the same as well. You've got seat belts on seat belt hooks here at the side, so they can be put out of the way when you don't have the seats in use. You've got a cup holder on either side. You've also, on this side, got a 12-volt socket. You've got various tie-down points and hooks in this boot, and you do have a tyre repair kit, but unfortunately no spare wheel as standard. It's also worth noting that these will seat fully sized adults. I've had 6-foot-tall adults in the back of a Dacia Jogger on long road trips, and they've been perfectly comfortable. In fact, slightly more comfortable than they are in the middle row. So let's get on to explaining that. I'm actually just going to quickly start with how the seats fold. So you just pull this top tab and then the entire seat is free to move about. Super simple. And if you need to get people into that 3rd row, you can do it with one hand. The seats are relatively heavy though, so you might struggle doing it with one hand, but it is possible. I have to pull the seatbelt back out of the way to put it in though, although there is a little slot there to put the seatbelt in while you have the seats down. Now I shall climb in and you shall see that I do not have much leg room. I'll close the door. Yeah, so this seat here is in my driving position, and this is not comfortable. Of course, this is based on a B segment hatchback, so that's kind of where this seat spacing comes from. These seats don't slide or anything like that. What I do have is lots of headroom, but yeah, basically you're going to have more legroom in the third row than you do in the second if you have a tall driver. If you've got a short driver, it's perfectly comfortable. There's 3 equal size seats. The outer ones have Isofix. You've got 2 seat back pockets. You've got a 12-volt power supply here in the middle row as well. You don't have any cup holders, which is an interesting choice in a family vehicle. You do have huge door pockets though. You can fit 4 500ml bottles in those door pockets, so if you're on bottles, you'll be fine. And then the middle seat belt, unfortunately, is mounted on the ceiling in the boot, and you have to take it through this loop here and plug it in on both sides, which is a faff for some people, but it's the cheapest solution. This is a budget-driven car, and I think the compromise is worth it for the money saved. Really, really excellent, though, if you've got dogs, because you can use both the middle seat belt things for your dogs, and then you still got both outside seats for humans to be seat belted into. Not specific to a lot of people, but that's how I use mine. But that's pretty much it. It's quite sparse here, but it's everything you need. Let's see what's changed in the front. Now here in the front, there are some significant changes due to the logo change. So this steering wheel now has an entirely different logo on it, which does visually affect the cabin. Also, all of the silver trim on this is now either grey or white. So it's white on the air vents. Those are kind of the biggest stylistic changes. And then, of course, no more manual. Well, no manual in the hybrid model, I should say. Still a manual in the standard car. So you get this automatic shifter instead. It's quite traditional, actually. Just a big lever you pull backwards and forwards. No flappy paddles, no sports mode, none of that stuff. And then the other big change is the gauge cluster itself. It's now a digital screen, and it's got information on it that's relevant to having a hybrid car. So it can show when you're getting regenerative charging. It shows when you're eco driving or when you're using maximum power. You have your battery charge state on the left hand side and your fuel on the right. So it's been fully redesigned to optimize it for being a hybrid. Also, if I go into the infotainment, this is a mid-spec model, so there's no inbuilt sat-nav or anything. There is slightly different infotainment styling though. It's this slightly new screen style. And I can go into vehicle, driving eco, and it'll tell me all of my eco driving stats. So if I go to trip report, it informs me that this week I've driven 999.3 miles, which is 19 hours, 1 minute, and I've driven 330 miles on electric, which is quite impressive, I think. General practicality around the cabin. So you have a USB up here by the screen. That's where your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay plugs in, which you'll want to use unless you get touch pedal, because you don't get sat-nav. You also have another 12-volt socket down here next to a cubby where you can put your phone. 2 cup holders, one slightly larger and deeper than the other. So depending on what kind of drinks you have, you can put them in the correct one. And then you have this center console storage area where I keep my sunglasses. Not huge, but useful. You also have a glove box. There is a fuse box in there, but it is very deep, so you can fit a surprising amount of stuff in it, considering that it's not as big as you might be expecting. Again, huge door pockets. There's a sort of cutout for a bottle, but it's pretty loose. You will fit a pretty big bottle in there though. Nothing up here, no sunglasses holder. You do have an SOS button, and there is now a slightly better separation between the SOS button and the light switch, so I'm no longer quite as concerned about accidentally signaling SOS. One zone climate control, but it is proper climate control with AC, and also in terms of driving mode you have an eco mode still, but no sports mode or anything. Not that you'd really be expecting it on a car like this, but I think now is the time to really get into it and talk about the drive, because that's really what separates this from the standard car. Let's do that. So as the Rolling Stones said, let's start her up. Some different noises. Engine's kicking in straight away there because I've got only a tiny bit of battery charge left. So first things first, shifting it, park, reverse, neutral, drive, and B for braking. As in regen braking. So you've got that as an option, which obviously adds more regen and lets you charge the battery up more. I've been driving it everywhere in B, because I generally like the maximum amount of regen. Electric handbrakes, that's turned off by itself as we set off. And there we go, EV mode, gliding away silently. I like this. It gives me, I've got an instant MPG readout, and every time it switches into EV mode, it goes to 99.9 MPG, which I guess is as accurate as it can be, but it's technically lying. So I will be writing a letter to Points of View about that. In EV mode, it's very nice, very quiet, lovely and serene. And when the power kicks in, when the engine kicks in, I should say, it is actually quite a smooth engagement. You don't really notice it other than with your ears. It's quite a noisy engine. But there you go, the engine's there now. It was very gentle, that it coming in, very smooth. And then what we do have is 140 horsepower and 205 newton meters of torque. So more power than the standard Jogger. Obviously this does weigh a bit more. This is more around the 1.4 ton mark rather than 1.2, but it more than makes up for it with the extra power. Pickup's really good actually, but yeah, the engine can sound quite laboured. I've noticed that if you have the music on, or is notice the right word? If you have the music on, you don't notice the engine. Obviously, that's how I drive the car most of the time. It's not really a problem. Adding into the engine noise is the way in which this hybrid setup operates. And it is interesting, and I'm sure I'm going to get some angry comments about this. If you go down to your Dacia dealer, or Nissan or Renault, who also sell cars with this setup, they will tell you that this is a 6-speed hybrid gearbox. And they're sort of right, but also they're really not. So the engine into conventional drive setup has 4 gears, and then the electric element has 2 gears. So if this were a bike, you'd call it an 8-gear bike, because there's 8 theoretical ratios that you could be in. I think in a car, it's only really fair to call it a 4-speed automatic with then a 2-speed electric gearbox, because it hangs onto revs like old 4-speed automatic cars used to. Obviously, the other downside of old automatics is you don't have bad economy in this, because you've got the electric motor filling the gap and giving you better economy. So that's not a downside, and it has let them make the gearbox very compact. It's very lightweight. It's great for packaging. There's reasons why they've done this, but if you're Jasper, the fact that there's only got 4 speeds and it's not as efficient as it possibly could be will get on your nerves. I think though, 99% of the time, the propulsion system in this car is excellent. Now there's one downside. Let's see if we can do it now. So the engine's loud, and then there's a kind of a yawny gap. When you're going flat out, and I mean flat out, foot to the floor, you will notice the shifts happen. All of the rest of the time, this drives around buttery smooth. So I think it's a good transmission. I know my colleague, Mr. Bruce Wright, disagrees with me on that one, but I think this is a good transmission. There's a reason that it's 4-speed, and I understand, and it doesn't impede me in normal driving. So there you go. What does impede me in normal driving, in my normal Dacia Jogger, is the clutch pedal is not pleasant. It's weird and spongy, and the engagement's not quite in the place I want it to be, and not quite in the way I'd like it to be. The gearbox itself is quite nice, but it's nothing to write home about. So I'm not really missing the engagement of a manual, and what I'm getting in return is relaxation and ease and convenience. And I think in a car like this, it makes more sense to have that. Plus, when the normal car is fully loaded, you can feel it, because it's only got 108 horsepower. Having an extra 32 horsepower does make a real difference, and even though it's only a smidge more torque, that helps as well. It just makes this more relaxed, calmer, easier, and hopefully it will fill the hole that some people felt was left by not offering a diesel model. I think a diesel one of these would be, it wouldn't be nice because it'd have the 1.5 diesel in it probably, or something similar, and it would be clattery and loud and rough. Yes, you get some engine noise in this, but it's nice and smooth, and you still get all the other good things about this. So this is still a light car, so actually it's quite chuckable in the corners. There's not a huge amount of steering feel, but you can properly drive this car and lean it down, and everything else about this car is still just as great as it always was. So the seating position's great, the seat's comfortable, I can set it exactly where I want, so I've got reach and rake on the steering wheel, I can set it all the way low how I like it, and I'm sat hunkered down in the car. Obviously I'm not as low as I would be in a traditional estate, but I don't feel like I'm driving a big tall crossover. But you can do that if you want the raised driving position. You also have that, you've got loads of headroom, great visibility, super upright glass house. You do have a slight rear blind spot just because of how high up the rear window is, but otherwise excellent view. You've got the reversing camera, which negates that rear issue when you're parking, and you've got parking sensors. You've also got automatic rain sensing wipers, you've got cruise control. In a hybrid car with 7 seats that will fit 7 adults for around 20 grand. I mean, the value in this is astonishing, and the space is incredible, and it's in a really small package as well. This isn't a very wide car. It's about the same length as a normal parking space, 4.5 meters, so you won't struggle to park it anywhere, but you've got room for everything and anyone you want. There's a reason I bought one. It's a damn good car, and I think this is better. This suits the car more than a highly strung turbo engine. As much as I enjoy the slight wacky turbo lagginess of that unit and being able to use a manual, I do like driving a manual, but I think in this car this makes more sense. And actually, Dacia have pulled a really great trick as well, because in a lot of hybrid cars, the brake feel can be really rather odd. And while I'm not going to say this is exactly like the ICE car, I found the brake in this very easy to get used to. It works pretty much intuitively, and that's what you want. And the economy's really good. So, in my car, on the motorway at a cruise, I will get high 40 MPGs if I'm driving steadily. This will get high 40 MPGs all the time, no matter what you really do with it. Including, town driving, which is where generally a petrol suffers the most. This just eats it up, no fuss. And I've done, well, as you've seen, I've done basically 1,000 miles in this, and it's been no bother at all. Really great. So there you go. My major downsides from my car, my Dacia Jogger, basically the major downside was the clutch pedal, and now it is fixed. It has more power. I was fine with the power, but I know lots of other people wanted more power. It has that now. It's still a great price. Nothing has been compromised by the hybrid being added. Let's go and do a conclusion. I think you can see where this is going, but we'll go and do a proper conclusion before I just keep rabbiting on. So, the Dacia Jogger Hybrid. What do I think? I think it's well worth it. You can tell from this video that I'm really, really impressed with this car. So, yeah, if you've got a Jogger and you think about upgrading, great place to go. If you're thinking about getting a brand new car, it's an excellent car. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. You'll find all of our social media links down in the description. You'll also find 2 ways to support the channel. So you can buy merchandise like I'm wearing here. Don't know if you can see that. And we also have YouTube memberships where you can sign up and pay a monthly amount to support us, which we very much appreciate if you want to do that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.